I've pulled apart enough seized two-stroke top ends to know exactly what's killing them, and it's never the riding people blame it on. Number 3 on this list is sitting right on the oil bottle you've bought 100 times. Number 2 feels like the responsible thing to do, and it might be quietly cooking your motor in your own driveway. By the end of this, you'll know all 5 habits destroying your snowmobile engine. I will also tell you the fixes that cost you nothing but 30 seconds and some patience. We start at number 1. Number 1, hammering the throttle the second your engine fires up. Let me tell you what's actually happening inside that cylinder. Metal expands when it heats up, but not all metal expands at the same speed. The piston heats up and grows faster than the cylinder wall wrapped around it. Give it a minute, both catch up, no problem. Give it 10 seconds and full throttle instead, and the piston swells into a bore that hasn't caught up yet. Mechanics call it a cold seizure, and it has nothing to do with the coolant being cold. It's the piston flat out outgrowing its own cylinder. It doesn't matter if you're running a 40-year-old carbureted twin or a brand new injected one. The physics doesn't check what year it is. On an oil-injected two-stroke, there's a second problem stacked on top. That oil pump hasn't fully primed the top end yet. For the first stretch of a cold start, your cylinder wall and power valve are running closer to dry than they should be, right when you're asking the most of them. You won't get a warning. The engine doesn't sputter or stumble first. It just stops, dead, mid-rev, like somebody yanked the kill switch. Riders who've felt it describe the exact same thing. Smooth 1 second, lock solid the next. A scored cylinder from a hard seizure isn't a cheap fix. Catch it early in a top-end refresh. New piston, rings, gaskets, runs a few $100s if you're doing the labor yourself. Let it seize hard enough to score the bore, and you're talking a rebore or a fresh cylinder on top of that, easily $800 to over $1,000 at a shop, sometimes pushing $2,000 if it took the crank with it. The fix costs you nothing, so let it idle until you feel real heat coming off the cylinder, not the exhaust, the cylinder itself. Then ride it gentle for the first mile before you ask for everything it's got. That's it. You'd think the fix is simple then. Just let it idle as long as you want before you ride. And that's exactly where the next habit sneaks up on guys who think they're doing everything right. Number 2, letting your sled idle in the garage, the driveway, or on the trailer ramp to warm it up before it ever touches snow. Don't get this confused with the last habit. A minute or 2 of idling to get oil moving is exactly right. The problem starts when that turns into 5 or 10 minutes parked on bare concrete while you load gear, swap helmets, or wait on your buddy who's still finishing his coffee. A liquid-cooled sled doesn't cool itself the way your truck does. There's no radiator with a fan pulling air through it. The heat exchangers, those finned strips bolted under the tunnel, only work because the track is constantly throwing snow and ice up against them. Sitting still on dry pavement, that exchanger is just dead weight doing nothing. This isn't internet folklore either. It's shown up directly in manufacturer service bulletins, telling dealers to keep idle periods to a minimum because liquid-cooled sleds genuinely need snow contact to stay cool. Most riders have never seen anything like that. They just assume idling is the gentle option. Normal running temperature on a healthy two-stroke sled, with snow actually hitting the heat exchangers, usually sits somewhere around 100 to 150 degrees. Stand still on dry pavement with that exchanger doing nothing, and the needle can march well past 200, a lot faster than most guys expect. A lot of Polaris riders will tell you their warning light is set to flash right around 207, and plenty of older sleds won't flash anything at all. They just cook quietly. Cook it long enough this way and you get the exact same damage as a cold seizure. Scuffed cylinder walls, carbon baking onto the power valve, the same few $100 to $2,000 repair you just heard about, except this time it happened standing perfectly still in your own yard. Come on, the fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Idle just long enough to get moving, then get the track onto actual snow within a minute or 2. If you've got to wait around at the trailhead, shut it off and restart when you're actually ready instead of letting it run. Cold start kills it. Idling off snow cooks it. The next one's been sitting in plain sight on a label you've probably never actually read. Quick pause. If you've ever idled your sled in the garage or driveway thinking you were doing it a favor, smash that like button right now. Small channel, every single one of you genuinely helps. Number 3, grabbing whatever bottle says two-stroke oil off the shelf without checking if it's actually right for your engine. Most two-stroke oil sold in stores carries a certification called TCW3, set by the NMMA, the National Marine Manufacturers Association. Did you notice something? Marine. That rating was built and tested on outboard boat motors, engines that sit at one steady RPM for long stretches and dump exhaust straight into the water behind them. A snowmobile engine does almost none of that. You're chopping the throttle constantly, and a lot of performance twins, Ski-Doo, Polaris, Arctic Cat, Yamaha, run variable exhaust power valves that boat motors don't even have. Ski-Doo's own parent company, BRP, actually tells owners not to use TCW3 oil at all and recommends an API TC-rated oil instead. Most riders have no idea that distinction even exists. They just see two-stroke oil on the shelf and grab it, whether they're running a vintage Mikuni Carb Twin or a brand new 850 E-Tech Turbo R. There's the ratio too. Eyeball it too lean, and you're running that power valve and cylinder wall closer to dry metal on metal than you think. Eyeball it too rich, and you're fouling plugs and baking carbon onto that same power valve until it sticks half open, quietly stealing power every single ride. The lean side ends the same way Habit 1 does, a seizure, sometimes mid-trail, sometimes mid-corner. The rich side is slower and sneakier. A power valve gummed shut doesn't usually shut your motor down. It just robs you of the top end you paid for, a little more every season, until you're wondering why your fast sled isn't fast anymore. The fix costs you nothing extra at the counter. Check your owner's manual for the actual oil rating your manufacturer recommends, and mix exactly to the ratio printed on that specific bottle, not the one you remember from a sled you owned 20 years ago. Oil's invisible once it's in the tank. The next habit isn't even about riding season, it's about what you do with that sled the other 9 months of the year. Number 4, letting last season's gas just sit in the tank all summer. Today's pump gas is almost entirely blended with ethanol, and ethanol pulls moisture straight out of the air around it. Once it's absorbed somewhere around 0.5% of its own volume in water, the water and ethanol separate from the gasoline completely. They sink to the bottom of your tank as a corrosive layer. In a humid garage or shed, that separation can start within about a month. That bottom layer is not fuel anymore. Oh no, it's a mix that won't burn clean, and it actively eats at the aluminum and zinc inside your carburetor over time. Even before separation happens, plain old oxidation is already forming gum and varnish, sticky enough to clog jets so small you can barely see the hole. The symptom shows up the exact moment you don't want it to. The first cold morning of the season, hard starting, rough idle, a smell like nail polish remover when you finally crack the float bowl open. Catch it early, and a rebuild kit runs you somewhere around $15 to $50 a carburetor. Ignore it for a season or two, and that corrosion pits the bowl and jets themselves. Now you're not rebuilding, you're replacing the whole carburetor, sometimes 2 of them on a twin. The fix takes 10 minutes before you park it for summer. Either run it dry, all the way dry, carb bowls included, or run a fuel stabilizer through a full tank and actually ride it long enough to push that treated gas into the carbs themselves. Pouring stabilizer in and parking it 5 minutes later does almost nothing. That one's about what you do at the end of the season. This last one's about what happens mid-ride, the second things go sideways on the trail. Drop a comment if you've ever pulled the float bowl on your carb and found that gummed-up mess sitting inside. I want the real story, not just the general complaint. Number 5, flooring the throttle the second your track starts spinning instead of gripping. Every sled, whether it's running an old Polaris P85 clutch or a brand new team setup, uses a rubber drive belt clamped between 2 clutches to transfer every bit of your engine's power to the track. The instant that track loses traction in deep or wet snow, the belt starts slipping against the clutch sheaves instead of driving them cleanly. Slipping rubber against metal at speed generates heat fast, and that heat glazes the belt's surface, smooth and shiny, almost like it's been held near a flame. Here's the trap. A glazed belt grips worse than it did before, so your instinct is to give it more throttle to compensate. More throttle on a glazed belt just makes more slip, which makes more heat, which glazes it further. It's sort of a feedback loop, and you're the one feeding it with your own thumb. Let's imagine the moment here. You're half a mile off the trail, buried to the running boards, and you panic and bury the throttle instead of easing off. Keep doing that, and the belt doesn't just wear out early. The cords inside it start popping clean through the sidewall, and riders who've lived through it all describe the same moment. A loud snap, the engine suddenly screaming at full RPM, and zero power getting to the track. You are not riding anymore. Come on. You are just standing in snow up to your knees, waiting on a buddy with a spare belt, or worse, without one. A new belt runs somewhere between $100 and $300 depending on your sled, plus labor if a shop's cleaning the old belt debris out of both clutches afterward. That's the cheap version of this mistake. The expensive version is getting towed out of the backcountry because you fed a slipping belt more gas instead of less. The fix is the opposite of instinct. The second you feel the track spin without the sled actually moving forward, back off, don't pile on. Rock it gently, get off and pack snow in front of the track by hand if you have to. And carry a spare belt that's already been broken in. It's the cheapest insurance policy in the entire sport. None of these 5 habits will end your season by themselves. That's exactly why riders keep doing them, year after year, without ever connecting the dots. Stack a cold launch here, a long idle in the garage there, the cheap oil bottle, the gas that sat all summer, the belt you kept feeding instead of backing off, and you're not looking at one repair. You're looking at the season where your sled spends more time on a trailer than on a trail, and you genuinely can't point to the one thing that did it, because it wasn't one thing. That's the part that actually costs guys money. Not one bad decision, 5 small ones that quietly compound until the engine that should have lasted you another decade is sitting in pieces on a workbench instead. Meanwhile, the guy 3 garages down is still running the same carbureted twin he bought used in the 90s, simply because he never picked up any of these 5 habits in the first place. But here's the part that actually matters. Every single fix you just heard cost you nothing but a little patience and maybe $50 in oil and a rebuild kit. Before your next ride, give the engine a real warm-up. Not a long one, just enough to feel heat at the cylinder before you ask for full throttle. If you're idling to load gear or wait on a buddy, get the track onto snow inside a couple minutes or just shut it off. Check your manual for the actual oil rating your manufacturer wants, not whatever's cheapest on the shelf that day. Before that, sled sits all summer, either run the tank and carbs bone dry, or stabilize it and actually ride it long enough to push that fuel all the way through. And the next time you're stuck and that track starts spinning, back off the throttle instead of bearing it. 5 habits, 5 fixes, and every single one of them is free. So which one of these 5 are you actually guilty of? And if you've ever cold seized a motor or cooked a belt yourself, tell me the year and model. I want to know what's actually still out there running. If you want more honest breakdowns like this one, hit subscribe. Like the video. Small channel, every single subscriber genuinely matters here. Check out the next video right here.